I got married at 20 years old. I know I only look 20. I'm 28 and I got married at 20. And at that time, what I now know, obviously being very young, is that my life was really broken. I was really broken from seeing my parents go through divorce. I was really broken, which was like a 6.5 year like process. Like I think my mom told me when I was in the 6th grade that she and my dad were going to be divorcing, and they did not finally divorce until I was like 10th or 11th grade. So for all of those years, I was like, my parents are going to be together, they're not. My parents are together, they're not. Within that span of time, I also witnessed three of the closest, like three very close family members pass away: my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my uncle, all within a span of like 2.5 years. And I remember also like leaving my childhood home, not getting to say goodbye to my childhood home, and a culmination of things. And so my mindset getting married so early was, I want a family. I want to create what I no longer have. And I would say that I also have the most amazing mom, in the sense that she is such a nurturing soul. She was a stay-at-home mom, and I was like, I want to be like her. And
And this is why, as men, we always got to pay attention to a woman's motive. What is her motive? Because sometimes a woman might want a husband, but it's not about you. She might not really be into you per se. She's more really into the thought about her being a wife and finding a husband. That's what she's thinking in her brain. And you could just be a casualty, like a victim to her plan. But she could do that without having no type of love for you. It's all part of her plan. And that's why, as a man, you got to be careful being part of a woman fairy tale.
I remember after I graduated high school and making this, because it's only like 2, 3 years until I met, my former spouse. I graduated high school and I wanted to go to performing arts school. And there were a lot of things that prohibited that from happening. I think there was a lot of fear. And I also think that one of the biggest factors was the relationship that I had with my mom at that time. And I really, really allowed her influence in my life to deter me from going going that direction to the school that I really, really wanted to go to. And I just was in a very, very shaky place in my relationship with God. I've known God my whole entire life. People will joke and say, like, oh, I bet you were so fun before you were a Christian. I have never not identified as a Christian. I've always known Jesus. I got baptized at like 7, 8 years old, and I love him first and foremost. I love him. That's my dog. Like I would not be here.
That's your dog. Listen, I'm not trusting no woman who describes her relationship with Jesus as that's my dog. I can't trust that, bro. I really can't. But this is why you always got to pay attention to a woman's mother. If you meet her mother and her mother was the reason for the divorce, bro, the signs are always there. The signs are always there, bro. All you got to do is pay attention to the signs, because if her mom is a bird only has the ability to raise another bird. A bird can't raise a virtuous woman. It's impossible. So all you got to do is look at her mom. What type of woman her mom is.
Here without him. And I think the decision not to go to performing arts school left me very lost and confused. And the one thing that I started to realize that I loved a lot was ministry. And I had this mindset, deciding not to go to performing arts school, that if I was not going to go, um, I had this mindset like, oh, I'm gonna like then sing for God. Like I'm like, I don't want to sing for the world. I want to sing for God. And so that then put me in this space in ministry where I was like very fascinated with how the church worked. And always like I went to a performing arts elementary school, like literally kindergarten through fifth grade. So I've always had a natural like desire for the platform. Not any in any other sense outside of the fact that like I feel very alive on stage. I feel like being on a platform is a skill and a gift that God has given me in the world and in the church. And I was just like at this place where like, how do these like sectors kind of like, how do they come together? So my type was people or men who were on the platform and things of this nature. And I
Because you was trying to come up. See what I'm saying, bro? She was after the men who will provide her a benefit. So it's like, okay, this is where I want to be in the church. This is what I want to do. So I'm going to mess with these types of men to get where I want it. That's a bird. See what I'm saying? Like a bird will use her body to get what she wants. She would sleep with that dude just because he could help her career or get her wherever she want to be. But she wouldn't mess with a dude like genuinely. That's why women like this can't really love a man because they only know how to use a man. And that's why you gotta meet her moms, bro. I'm pretty sure her moms is just like her.
very much so like gravitated towards that type of man specifically in ministry. And it wasn't very far off for me, considering that I had grown up in the church my entire life. I During COVID was the longest period of time that I've ever not attended church, and that is a little bit of backstory just to produce insight as to why I kind of like got married young, one, what my life looked like prior to. And I'm also sharing a little bit about like my own struggles and my own like hurts and like childhood traumas, because this is in no way, shape, or form a direct, like, this isn't like a, like, you also have to like look within yourself and be like, why did you make this decision? You were young. You didn't know any better. These were the things that you struggled with. These were the things that you went through. And these are the things that ultimately led to you making this decision. Okay. So, meeting then, my former spouse was at a church that I had been attending for several years, where I grew up in Georgia. And at that time, I saw him, and I have this story on YouTube. A lot of y'all know this. Some of y'all are like real slick with it. Like, I remember seeing you on YouTube. God, like crazy God story, how I met my husband. I will gladly put that video back up for y'all to look at. Gladly. He ain't in it.
And that's what I'm saying, fellas. The worst thing you could do, bro, is trust a clout chaser. That's the yo. if you get around a woman and you peep like, oh shit, she's a clout demon. She love clout. It's not about you, homie. It's about the clout. The clout comes first. The fact that she's a woman of God, but she's making a video like this on TikTok talking about her relationship with the pastor. This is not a sacred woman. This is a woman who is out there for the world. That's a bird.
Finally put that video up. So I felt like I had met my spouse. I remember I was in the church on the stage, getting ready to do worship that night. During rehearsal, he comes in, and I had this like out of body experience that I can recall. And I'm like, that's my spouse. And this man ended up obviously moving to the church. I didn't know he was going to. I didn't know who he was. I literally had no idea who this man was. We become really close friends over the span of a year and a half, and we decide that he was on this 2-year commitment. He wasn't dating for 2 years. And then once his commitment was up, we had some conversation a couple months prior. He told me that he wanted to date me. I shared with him like, hey, I feel like God gave me this word about you, and we got married.
Got him. Ooh, nasty. Oh man, Shorty's a demon, bro. You could tell. Look at her. She probably hit that man with, man, this is what God said. God sent me to you. Mm, mm, mm. I'm the one. I never had this feeling before. Man, he thought he came up, man. He thought he ha! Whole time, bro. Shorty's just a demon, man. Trying to level up.
The marriage in and of itself was never great. And you don't know what you don't know because you've never been married. But the thing that I felt I won't say the whole entire time, but I had this like underlying discomfort about the way that I wanted to feel. And, so this is like now 2018, and social media is just, just continuing to evolve. And I just have this like underlying like discontentment for my life. I just would see people interact with each other in these like very like romantic ways on socials or in person, and I'm like, that's not real. Like they're doing that for show. Like men don't really feel like that about their women. Um, and I remember one of the first things that I was like, this is off, was we had been married for maybe 4 or 5 months, and I walk into the living room from behind the couch, and he jumped like I didn't live there, and I was just like, hey, like I live here, like, are you good? I'm like, are you okay? Because you've been like very, very, very quiet. And his response was like, yeah, I'm just watching TV. And I will never ever forget that moment. It was that moment for me that maybe a lot of women talk about that they have being married, where you're like, this is not the same person. And that was probably 4 or 5 months in. From there, things just went downhill, and they went downhill fast. He was always very tired, very fatigued, struggled mentally, chronic migraines, a lot of inflammation in the body. And I just couldn't quite ever put my finger on like what was wrong with this man. And so we'll go into part two. This is part two of why I am no longer a pastor's wife, why I'm no longer a wife, period. I will say that my mom was the one who was like, don't know. I don't think I like the way that I don't hear him talk about you and your dreams and your ambitions and your goals enough. When I ask him what his plans are and what he sees when he sees himself with you, he often talks about himself. Okay, which is an issue that I think is very forward with a lot of ministers and pastors. Um, there is this song, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a song by this Christian rapper, and I can't remember the pastor that is featured on this song. Y'all probably know what I'm talking about, but in the song he talks about like how man is not wired for the applause of man. He says that's not good for your soul. And I that just plays on my mind repeat all day long. And so I think the reoccurring, like the people like that can probably agree and testify with me in the comment section, the issue is man is not created and wired to receive the weight, the accolades, the applause, what that does for somebody who also does not have a healthy sense of self, has not done the work to handle that type of pressure and weight, i.e., insecurities, i.e., childhood traumas, whatever the case may be. I think that is one of the most like evident issues is being in the spotlight for years, all while dealing with the normal Monday pressures of life. You got bills, you gotta take care of your health, you gotta live right.
Yo, this
And
is
every single
crazy.
week you're standing on the platform, whether it be in front of 3,000, 30,000, telling other people how they supposed to live. That is hard.
Yo, women like this are very dangerous, bro. This is the type of woman who will destroy an empire. She will seek out the king, the top dude, go after him, then try to break him down. These women are who they are. She knew exactly who that man was before she married him. But that's who she chose in order to move up in the game. But then when she got there, it's like, all right, I conquered this. Now it's time to level up. And in order to level up, she got to destroy him. That's just how it goes because now she's on here trying her best to bash that man. And I know that man put her on a pedestal. I know he was doing everything for her. But she just couldn't be a loyal wife and be his backbone. Instead, she wanted him to cater to her. That's how it works with birds. Even though this man is a whole pastor, even though he got to be a leader. So he need a supportive woman next to him. But he wifed up a bird. And look what happened.
That's not a calling I want. Um, and so with that, I'm taking a very, very balanced approach to this because I also don't want people to think that I did. People like, oh, it's a, it takes a lot of heart, baby. I know. 9 times out of 10, if we had a second bedroom, that second bedroom was a dedicated prayer room. dedicated, because as a spouse, you are also carrying the weight of everything that this person is experiencing. And they're not meant to carry that alone. And I carried it well, or at least I thought I was. So,
Cold-blooded, bruh. Yo, chicks like this be cold-blooded, fam. Damn.
that's what I would say as it pertains to my heart and my understanding behind. Like, I get the weight, I get the pressure. And I think the reason why so many, it's like, oh, like, what are these pastors doing? It's not like, what are they doing? It's more so like, what are they not doing? What is the work that they haven't done? What is the therapy they haven't done? What is the, what are the issues they have failed to refuse? Because if I can really like go into details, my heart aches for that man very often, because I'm like, you did not have the skills. Nobody equipped you to deal with your stuff. And then you got on a platform in front of people week after week after week and tried to tell them what to do and how to live their lives, when inside, like, you are a little boy. You still have wounds for how for how your parents treated you. And you carry that every single week. But the issue is not.
Damn, bro. You see how dangerous these birds are, bro? You see how she's trying to emasculate that man, take away his pride, his dignity, everything that he worked for as a man to where he's at in his career. And he's in a good position because people are listening to him. This bird is trying to belittle this man. This is crazy. She called him a boy. She trying to, and this is why I always tell you guys, man, when a bird is done dealing with a simp, she will always try to destroy you, bro. I'm telling you, fam.
The issue is not the problem. It's like, have you done the work to deal with it? And instead of dealing with it, the platform becomes a band-aid. Everybody else thinks I'm doing really good. And then you actually start convincing yourself that you're doing really good, and you're not. And that weight will probably make one a little bit crazy. Psychotic, might add. And where I saw this manifest in my own life was, this is year like 5.5. Was this year 5? Year 5? 6, can't remember. Dude hits me up one day. Hey, I ain't doing so hot. I'm gonna go ahead and check myself in. As a text message. And this is the beginning of the end. Okay? This is the beginning of the end. Because first off, I'm sitting here at lunch with another pastor, female, of course, because that could sound crazy. And I'm like, how am I getting a text message from my spouse?
I think she just slipped up right there because another pastor, female, how many female pastors do you see? She might have slipped up right there, man. Damn, son. Damn, that's crazy. What if she was really smashing another pastor the whole time? Maybe because hypergamy is real. So maybe the other pastor was the the next best thing. And a bird will always stray for the next best thing. Facts.
Telling me I need to seek professional help, which therapy, I guess, really only works if you're honest. I was never in any of the sessions. I was never invited. I never knew anything about the therapy because that was just a room that I was not ever invited into. I tried, I testified, and I couldn't get to him on that level. So I remember getting that text message and it felt like my world was like literally like collapsing. I'm like, I don't understand how we got here, but let's figure it out. Let's fix it. Let's put on the pastor's white face. Let's fix it. Let's figure it out. So head to the hospital. I have one of the ladies on staff at the church who was literally pastoral care trail me to the hospital. We get there and it was like 2.5 hours before I could see him. I was a absolute mess. And they make you wait because they have these certain hours that you can visit. And I finally go into the room and it's like, hey, like what's going on? Like how we doing? Like what's up? And what he tells me is like, the Holy Spirit told me it's either, the ministry or your wife. And at the time, we were young adult pastors at a church. So let me just also clarify, this man was never a bishop. He never was a pastor of a whole entire church. He only oversaw ministries of churches over the span of 6 years. And I was like, okay, had been struggling with his mental health like I shared previously. And that was hard for me. I will say that was hard for me because I did not have a lot of context for what that was, because his mental health at the time was not something I had experienced, but baby, have we since. And so my heart just really broke for him. And I was like, okay, what do we do? And we're going to go ahead and go into part 3. Part 3, why I am no longer a pastor's wife. To be in a hospital with your spouse because they are not doing mentally well, it's just like, it's not a good feeling. Like I said, the pastor who is on staff, pastoral care, was there. And then I remember her saying, like, do you want to reach out to like big dog up top? Do you want to call him and let him know what's going on? I'll say, like, one of the things that when it comes to like mental health is it's tricky, especially when you're in ministry, because people don't realize like how ministry works. And we can talk about this. I would love to actually talk about this conversation. Should ministers get paid? Why they get paid? How does the church run? And all these things. Like, we can have that conversation. First thing that pops in his head and my head is like, if we tell them that you're struggling with your mental health, are you going to lose your job? And if you lose your job, what are we going to do? We had just purchased a house the year before. And, there's just, like I said, you're a pastor, but you also just have the mundane like worries of life to deal with. And I'm like, hey, Pastor so-and-so thinks we should let Pastor know what's going on. What do you think? He finally says yes. I remember I get into the room and I'm like, what's going on? We talk and he says, 50% of my anxiety has stemmed from insert girl's name who worked at and attended the church. Specifically was in the ministry that we were pastoring. And my heart sank into my ass. Because I already knew to a degree. As a wife, I'm like, what is something you have this thing with this person that you don't have with anybody else? And I'm gonna be very, very mindful right now in this moment to try to protect this girl. And I don't know why I'm doing it, because it's gonna be very evident to some who this person was, and I don't know why I'm doing this. But I am going to say right now, I forgive her. I forgive you. I forgive you for playing in my face, smiling in my face, the very weird remarks and gestures made towards me, and at that time, my marriage. I genuinely do forgive her, and my heart also aches for you if you so happen to see this. And it saddens me. And I will say this is honestly probably one of the things that hurt me the most is previous to this, I had a online ministry slash coaching mentorship where I help young women prepare for marriage. And this is a girl that I would have loved the opportunity to hold hands and walk through seasons of singleness, dating, all the things with her. And instead, it ended up being a scenario where even given the opportunity to see if this girl's heart really was spiteful. I assume she was, and I am going to stand and believe that she was not necessarily spiteful, but just deceptive is what I would call her behavior. I won't call her deceptive, but I think the behavior was very deceptive, and it was very just a nasty spirit. And in an attempt to not make this about her, because it's really not, what I will say is to pastors who may be watching this, when a leader or a woman or man comes to you and they tell you that there is an issue as it pertains to a specific person, please believe them. At this time, we're having these conversations with leadership, with the church. This is what's going on. My marriage is in trouble. My marriage is in trouble. As a pastor's wife, I'm coming to my pastors and leaders and I'm saying, our marriage is in trouble. And the thing that's super hard and challenging is like, I don't know if they saw that he was the problem. And because of that, they created a plan then to have us exit. I don't know if she was really the problem. And because of the church politics and structure, they protected her because of that. I don't know if they didn't know what to do, but all I know is that people that I sat across the table with and broke bread with had like what I thought was community with. Like, these are people that I loved, iced me out and stopped talking to me. And then you still have to show up week after week like nothing's wrong. And I was at that time on the worship team for the main church. I was over our young adult worship team, so we were young adult pastors. I was on the women's ministry team, and this is a very high production church. So, I mean, just anytime there's a production of any type, I was there. I showed up. I gave my time, my energy. And again, to look these people in the face and say, like, hey, my marriage is in trouble, help me. And for no one to give us a clear roadmap on how to be helped, regardless of the situation. I even hate that in my mind. I'm like, was it him? Was it her? Doesn't matter. This is what happened to me. Nobody came to make sure Diamond was okay. Not one person. And the people that I did go to and the people that I did talk to and share all this information with were silenced. If you talk to this girl again, like, I have people that were like, oh, like, I think these are like, this is like my church mom figures and my men. We can't talk to you about that no more. October of this past year was 2 years. And we left. And that's why I've taken my time in sharing this, because it's a lot. So I'm gonna pause. This is getting heavy. And I'll come back and show.
This right here is crazy, bro. This chick is really dragging a story about how she became a divorcee. Like, look, the bottom line is this, man. Fellas, be careful out here, bro. before you wife these women, make sure she is prepared to be a support system for you, because there's three sides to every story. Based on everything that she's saying, I would love to hear his side of the story, because it's sounding a little fishy at this point. And it's just sad, man. And as a man, you don't want to be in a situation like this, where you married a chick and then now she's on the internet trying to bash you, trying her best to put you down. She's trying to make you look bad to make herself look good. Please leave your thoughts in the comments. It's your boy AyeQ, and I'm out.
If you haven't yet, go get you some of that merch. You all already know, don't feed the birds. That's what it is. We don't feed the birds over here. So if you rock with your boy, go get you some of that good merch.